Today's video is going to be slightly different format to the normal. I'm not doing any kind of work on a car. What I'm doing tonight is going on a road trip to visit the previous owner of my 1971 Austin 1100 two-door. When I bought the car, it came with some parts and some panels, which for whatever reason or another we never got round to sorting out. So I thought, being as I've started the restoration, I probably should go and pick those panels up because I will need them to do the restoration with. I'd also tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about what it's like to have an electric vehicle, the pros and cons of owning an electric vehicle, and a little bit about life on the road with one, being as I am obviously going on a very long drive with one. Tonight I'll be doing around about 310 miles. We've currently got enough juice to do 337 miles, so we should be okay, which is good because I forgot my wallet. So what electric vehicle do I own? I have a Golf GTE. Why I have the GTE over the e-Golf is something which I will explain. When I moved jobs a year or so ago now, it became clear that I needed something that I could use a bit more as a daily driver, and also something which is a little bit more modern, because I plan to rack up quite a few miles in a very short space of time. My new boss drives a Golf GTE, and my other boss drives an e-Golf. So I got a little bit interested in electric Golfs for those really, both giving pros and cons of each, but what I want to give is my own personal experiences. There's a company in Milton Keynes called the Electric Vehicle Experience. If you go to their website, they will allow you to rent for 5 or a week, or even I think a day test drive on some of their vehicles. You can hire a car for a short space of time and use it as though it's a daily driver really. So I hired an e-Golf from there, had it for a week and loved it, but what I didn't like was the range. I enjoyed the kit that it comes with, I enjoyed the comfort, I enjoyed the size, because the Golf is a really, really nice size. But the range is only 80 miles, which to me is a problem. If I'm driving anywhere long distance, generally I do more than 80 miles, so today we're doing 300 miles for example, I would have to charge the car 4 times in the day, which as you can imagine will be impractical because each time it takes around about an hour and a half to charge the car fully. When you add that on top of a 6-hour journey, it just made it too much for me to have. With the GTE you get 25 miles of range, which is real world range, and I do generally get around about 20 miles depending on how you drive it or how much you use the air conditioning, because all of those things have an effect on your battery. But around about 25 miles is generally what I see. When I'm running on both engine and battery, I generally get around about 70 mpg, which I think is pretty good. It's not class leading for PHEV, that Toyota Prius has that hands down. But then you'd have to admit to owning a Toyota Prius, which I could never do. At least with the Golf, the Golf GTE, it looks like a normal car. It has the GTI styling, it has the GTI performance, and it doesn't look like an electric car. Unfortunately, the new e-Golf that's coming out, I think it's the i3, looks like an electric car, so unfortunately VW has ruined the fact that they had a car that looks like a normal car. It does have some cons due to the fact it's based on an actual model and isn't designed specifically to be an electric vehicle. The battery, for example, is on top of the petrol tank, so what they've done is taken the spare wheel away and made the petrol tank smaller. So it's only got a 45 litre tank, not a 55 litre, which does impact range. quite considerably when you're running on just petrol. Generally you get about 350 miles to a tank of petrol, whereas in a normal Golf you get 450. Performance when you're using the electric motor is actually pretty good. The electric motor is 100 brake horsepower, so 0 to 60 is fairly swift. It's got a DSG 6-speed gearbox with the flappy paddles. In my opinion, the flappy paddles are a complete and utter waste of time. I've never once found a use for them. One day I'll try and do a video as exactly why the flappy paddles are annoying, but they are useless. The GTE standard comes with quite a lot of kit. It's got radar cruise control, auto wipers, auto lights, daytime running lights, everything's LED, everything's electric, so electric steering, electric brakes, electric suspension, which makes it incredibly comfy and incredibly smooth. The DSG gearbox is brilliant. It's one of the best gearboxes that's ever been produced. It's an absolute joy to drive. On some twisty lanes it does feel a little bit heavy because it's obviously got the 250 kg of battery in the boot, but generally you don't really notice it, to be fair. Charging an electric vehicle on the move can be a little bit of a nightmare because there's so many different companies that do the electric charging now. To name a few, you've got Tesla, you've got Ecotricity, you've got Polar, and they all operate different tariffs, they operate different apps, different subscriptions, different means of charging. The issue is when you arrive at a location with an electric charger, there's no guarantee there'll be one free. And if there is one free, sometimes it can be broken or you haven't got the application. There was an instance a couple of months ago where we were in York and we were in a car park with 3 electric chargers, but we couldn't use them because we didn't have the relevant application. We were in a car park where there was no wireless, so we couldn't download it. So it can be a little bit problematic, but if you plan your journey ahead and find the free local chargers, it can actually be a very, very economical way to drive around. Generally on a monthly basis I drive 1,200 miles and I use about £30 worth of petrol. In terms of electricity, it's a little bit hard to judge how much I actually spend in electricity additional a month, but it comes out of a different budget, so it's kind of a hidden cost, so we don't count that. We just pretend it doesn't happen, although it does cost a little bit in electricity. It's inevitable, really. I can charge it free of charge, which is one of the things I'm very fortunate that I can do that, and that really does help in terms of costs and keeping costs down and running the Golf. Would I recommend a Golf to anybody? Yes, I would. I'd recommend a Golf to anybody that thinks about getting them. They're brilliant cars, built by Germans. They're nice and quiet, as you can hear. We're currently doing 50 miles an hour on a full electric, and you can't hear anything really. You do have to be a little bit careful when you're driving down the road because people generally don't hear you coming. I've surprised a few people by sneaking up behind them. One thing I will do at a later date is I'll do a video of the Golf's dashboard, because it's one of my favourite pieces about the Golf is the layout of the digital dashboard and how many different options you have to be able to change the layout, to be able to change what you see. Because it's completely digital, you can put anything up there that you like, pretty much. One of the downsides to the Golf is that it will eat tyres, unfortunately. So generally I get about 12,000 miles out to repair the tyres on the front before they need to be changed. With it having 18-inch wheels, they're not particularly cheap. But it's just one of the things of owning a performance car, I guess. see the car sense that there's a lorry ahead and it slows down. As soon as you start indicating, the car then accelerates and you can overtake the lorry with ease. It's quite a neat little feature, really. Driven for several hundred miles with this on, and it's effortless, really. All you need to do is set your speed and turn the steering wheel occasionally, apply the brakes if there's going to be an accident. It's the real first step to cars being self-driving. In fact, one of the options that you can have for the Golf is the lane discipline. That basically means that if you try and stray out of a lane without indicating, it will buffer you back into the lane. Unfortunately, it won't let you use that to drive the vehicle. I tried on the e-Golf and it gets upset if you don't put constant pressure on the steering wheel. But no, you can see how cars will become self-driving in the not too distant future. The technology already exists, and yeah, I don't see an issue with it, really, if it saves lives and protects people. Maybe not so entertaining around country lanes if you want to just have a little bit of fun, but certainly on motorways if we keep people moving quite nicely, and it will reduce crashes. So I'm all for self-driving vehicles. We've got about 5 miles of electric range left. I've deliberately ran the battery down because I plan to come off at the next services, because I know there's some charging points, although it looks like it's going to rain, which is a little bit. There you go, so the van's pulled out, the car's already sensed that the van's done that, and started to slow down to a steady speed behind the van. So as I was saying, I plan to pull off at the next services, which is in around about 10 miles time, and we will plug the car in for half an hour, go and have a cup of coffee, and come back hopefully with a nearly full tank of juice. Which is good, actually, because I didn't bring my wallet with me, so if we run out of petrol, I am stuffed. So my intention is to charge the car on the way down and charge the car on the way back. It adds about an extra 50 mile of journey, so I should get back home with ease without having to worry about running out of petrol. Worst case scenario, there's always another electric station just on my way home where I can get another 25 miles of juice. But as I mentioned before, it does add time into your journey, which is not always not always ideal, but I guess if you wanted to save money or be efficient, it's probably better if you charge this car more frequently. So we're just coming up to the services now. We've averaged 68.1 mpg, which I think is pretty good, to be honest. We've been doing the speed limit all the way down here, so can't really expect it to be anything better. Now what we need to do is try and find the electric charging bays. Now the electric charging points here should be Ecotricity, which is a company that runs a large number of charging points within the UK. Thankfully they're not Tesla chargers, otherwise I'd have no chance, because I can't use the Tesla chargers without owning a Tesla. But in terms of where are the spaces, I have no idea, if I'm honest. Generally they're by the door, sometimes they're over at the side. It's wherever they can run the power to the spaces. I'm not seeing them immediately. Let's have a look. Where are these spaces? And there you go, I can't find them. So let's circle round and we will try and find the electric charging bays. Where are they? So we have the lorry parking here, which is not ideal. We have petrol station. Right, we're going to go back in the no entry. We didn't do that, okay. So yeah, I don't know where the spaces are. Excellent. I know they are here. Where? They're not over there. Right. There you go. The joys of car ownership when you've got an electric car is driving around car parks aimlessly trying to find electric spaces and failing and having to drive the wrong way around car parks to find them. So there you go. Failed to find the electric spaces. here they are. The closing panels for the shed.